Today's a big day for Tesla. Last night, we received the latest data coming from Tesla China, and the news is good. There were almost 21,000 cars registered last week, and this is now up 22% from the previous week. The run rate is now back near full production at Giga Shanghai. Second, tomorrow, Tesla will announce their vehicle production and delivery numbers for Q1. The sell-side analyst consensus is at 377,000, while the retail analysts are more in the 350 to 360,000 range. Third, a Model 3 was spotted in New Hampshire with a new camera setup. It appears Tesla is testing what may be the Cybercab on the East Coast now. We're also hearing Tesla has been operating at least 50 of the new Model Ys in and around Austin, likely testing Robotaxi. And finally, Giga Berlin just announced it hit a new milestone, now producing its 500,000th Model Y. We've got Hans Nelson joining us today. Hans has a YouTube channel called Hans C. Nelson. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me, Herbert.
Thank you very much for joining, Hans. You're one of the best analysts out there. In the retail community, you really help understand the production delivery, but FSD, AI, that's your specialty. Appreciate you joining us today. So let's start with this new information. This came out just now, reported from Tesla China, that Tesla insurance registrations in China for last week was 20.7 thousand. That's the number we were all hoping for. That's a big jump. This is up 21.8% from last week, 20.3% year over year. The quarter is negative 30% from last quarter, right? Which is showing you the impact of the Model Y factory shutdown so they can introduce the new Model Y. But
also Chinese New Year. Don't forget that. Always a seasonal thing that happens right here.
They're now close to 2% year over year. So that's great. Highest week of the quarter and fourth highest week ever. Thank you, Roland, for producing that. So what we're looking at here is the pink. That's 2021 Q1. That's the pink, the first Q1 of the 13 to 14 weeks, 13 weeks of Q1 so far. And by the way, there's still a day left, right? This is the day reported last week as a Friday. So now you've got the pink past the green, which was what it was last year. So that's looking good. And then here we have, you're looking at the blue, that's 2025. And we're basically on track to what it's been happening for the last several years. And I have a feeling it's going to be higher than all of these. It's going to be back to growth year again. What do you think about these numbers, Hans?
Yeah, I think that it's great to see Giga Shanghai back to basically full production this quickly, to not only, and I think we made this point last time, not only are they able to deliver almost record number of cars that they've ever delivered, they're close to it. We're talking about they shut down and turned off production on the highest selling vehicle in China. And so the fact that they're even able to get close to last year when all they did was a refresh on the Model 3, which is much lower volume, means that this ramp is going much smoother, much faster than the Model 3 Highland refresh in China did last year, which is great news for everyone. That means that the supply, Tesla has learned from that experience. The supply base is able to catch up very quickly. They're able to make this change very smoothly. And it also is a good sign for all of the other factories that are also cutting over to the Model Y at the same time this year, which is not something that Tesla did last year. When they did cut over to the Model 3, they actually did phases. They did this Shanghai one first, and then they rolled over to Fremont and Berlin. And so it's awesome to see that going well. This level of things is really great. And we've reduced now our cost of goods sold. So this is incredibly good for our margins moving forward. And to be at full production this quickly, hopefully that means that actually we might be able to squeeze more production out of this facility. If they've been able to reduce the cycle times there, which is, I think, something that's likely, then we could actually be able to produce more of these new Model Ys out of Shanghai than we have in the past. And hopefully, if that's true for Shanghai, it will also be true for the other factories. And so that is another good sign. And just, on that alone, we should be able to see some growth this year from Tesla as far as units. And that's not even getting into some of the other vehicles that might get released this year, or not might, some that will. And, I think even some exciting new vehicles, not just smaller, compact vehicles, but potentially a roadster, I think, is on the table for this year, is what it sounds like as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what all of those things are going to bring.
Yeah, we're going to show you some screenshots of spy shots of this this Model 3 that had new camera setup. So we'll see what that was about. But yeah, your point about margins is good, but it's not going to be the Q4. It's going to be not the Q1 numbers. It's going to be terrible. But onward, now that we're here at scale, that's great. So we've got, this is the numbers you can see here in the month of March. The first week was like 13,800, then 15,000, 17,000. Now we're 21,000. You can see how the ramp up of the new Model Y, they kept just improving it. So this was a big jump, and we're pretty happy with it. Thank you for Tesla Chan. If people want to see the actual numbers as it compares to where it was last year, this is a good table to look at. And then Roland does a great job. He says Tesla Model Y. So of that number that we just saw here in China, you break out just the Model Y sales. That's up 37% week over week to 14,600. This looks like full production of Giga Shanghai. Thank you for that, for Roland. Final thoughts there?
Yeah. I look forward to seeing what that chart looks like next quarter. And yeah, agree with your point that, this is going to impact margins. You're right. It's not going to impact margins this quarter. But looking forward, this is good signs all the way around for vehicle profitability. And it also, the last thing that I would say is, if they're able to cut over, managing the supply chain to change over from the old Model Y to the new Model Y is an extremely difficult challenge. That is the heart of what this challenge is. Like we said, Tesla is showing that they're improving in their ability to manage complex challenges like this across, it's the largest automotive supply chain in the world, the Tesla Model Y, because it's the #1 selling vehicle in the world. And so, they have to be very careful when they make changes on something of that magnitude. And they seem to be executing flawlessly. And I will just then remind the viewers that if they're able to do that with the Model Y at these large volumes, that also has great implications for their ability to ramp future vehicles. Like, it's the state of the maturity of their supply chain, of their supply chain management, and everything that's involved in all of that is one of the key driving factors of how fast they can ramp. It's not just, when you get all the parts in your factory, can you put them all together quickly? Like, you have to feed every single one of those operations with parts. And a lot of times it's the supply chain that bottlenecks production ramps, not necessarily your ability to execute your manufacturing or assembly steps. And so this is just really, really good sign for what the rest of the year looks like.
Great insights, Hans. So I love everything you just said. The other thing is, I think I'm very excited because if you can see the Model Y ramp up and it's now full production, it's now going along, that means they're now ready to start thinking about the new models. And that can happen sooner. If this was delayed in any way, the longer it was delayed.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of time and energy and management capacity that has been consumed by this Model Y cutover and ramp up. And like you said, now that it has been completed, it means that there's a lot of focus that's going to shift to, okay, what's the next step? And I think we know what that's going to be.
All right, this next segment, Hans, we've been doing this quite regularly, at least once a quarter. Soon, we won't be able to do this anymore. Nobody cares anymore with auto production and delivery. Today is April 1st. It's April Fool's Day. Tomorrow, the second day after the quarter ends, that's when Tesla will drop the actual production delivery numbers. People still care about that right now. It's going to be bad. Let's take a look at what the numbers we're seeing here. Tesla shared this, the IR shared this, investor relations. This is basically coming from the sell side analysts, and Tesla compiles these delivery consensus. And you can see here the total deliveries for first quarter of 2025. The consensus right now is 377,592. Okay, the median is 370. And that's this is 27 of these sell side analysts that they got obtained. You can see the names down here. So 377 is still too high. It's way too high according based on my estimates, and they are still for 2025 at 1.85, which is basically close to what it was last year, which is great. And that's great. I think it's going to be higher than that, but at least it's not lower than that. So that's where they're at with the sell side analysts. Now, if you take a look at the retail analysts, who are pretty well consistently always better and more accurate than the sell side analysts, you can see here while the analyst consensus was 377, here are the top Tesla retail analysts. You can see their numbers here. And you can see that, ranges, most of them are in the 360 or the 350s range. And that looks more like it. I'm more.
I didn't know Grok was a retail analyst.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah. Isn't that great? Grok predictions could be really good. So I will go with Grok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually think I would land somewhere in the 365 to 370 range as well. I like that upper bound number. I feel like the analysts have actually been a lot better more recently than they they have a history of being terrible. But over the last year, they have been significantly better than they were before. And I think that, the street is going to be on the side of being conservative with the change in deliveries, where I think retail is going to be conservative on the side. Wow, with the Model Y ramp up, that's going to be terrible for deliveries. And so, I mean, just from a psychology standpoint, I would kind of expect it to land somewhere in between retail and analysts for this quarter specifically.
Okay. Yeah. I'm still at the close to 100,000 lower than 444, although they caught up a little bit at the end there because of several weeks of ramp up. And they were producing 28,000 per week of the old Model Ys. And so 28,000 per week, if you're down for 2, 3, 4 weeks, that's 75,000 right there.
I do think we're going to exit the quarter with record low inventory, though. And I think that inventory sell through might have an impact.
Jeff Lutz has been warning that the inventory will not be low. It's going to be high. And that's because they're going to continue now that they're at this high scale, pumping these new Model Ys out at this high scale. And so it's going to look like it's high inventory when in fact they're just making more
Gotcha.
So this is great to hear. I want to hear the analysts. I wish that the analyst estimates were even lower. I don't want them to be surprised. But I do think that the message is getting out there.
We needed like 400 expectations. So when they miss, the stock really goes on sale.
That's what you were looking for. But here's why I'm still saying this, even though I do think that most analysts have started to understand that it's the Model Y crossover, not political. But you've got this article from JP Morgan, right? Just produced today. And they're warning, listen to this, Tesla will report the worst quarterly delivery since 2022. That's correct. And the problem is not America, and they're saying it's Europe. And guess what? They are saying it's likely due to Elon Musk's controversial political involvement. The revision estimates 355 down from 444, with European sales underperforming due to Musk's remarks on geopolitical issues. And the entire article, not once did they even talk about that the factories were shut down because they stopped selling the old Model Y. They need to restart it for the new Model Y. They didn't even talk about that at all as the reasons why the drop. So what do you think?
I mean, such a blatant omission of critical information. Like, you cannot possibly understand the topic that they're reporting on without including that. And it makes you wonder, you don't just accidentally miss that. You leave it out on purpose. And if you leave it out on purpose, why are you leaving it out on purpose? But I mean, this is Tesla we're talking about. FUD is the norm, not the exception.
All right. Okay. So that's cars. We're gonna go back to that when we talk Giga Berlin. But now Robotaxi. How do we know if Robotaxi is progressing? Well, we've been waiting for spy shots. We're seeing now spy shots. And so this is interesting. This Model 3 was spotted in Concord, New Hampshire. It's got a new camera setup. Looks like Tesla's doing some testing in the East Coast now, and it looks very much like a Cybercab. So if you can see this, I'll show you some photos here. This is the Model 3, and this guy torqued to spec overlaid it to a Cybercab. I don't think it's the same size because I'm sure the Model 3 is bigger, but you can see that the camera setup here and here are very similar to where the Cybercab would have it. So this is the Model 3 that was spotted at the supercharger station. You can see over here, the camera here, and here, of course, is a camera. There's also one in the front that looks just like what you would see with the Cybercab. And then right in the front here, and then there's also the front camera. What do you think is happening here, Hans?
Well, there's obviously a couple of different options. One of them is, like you said, this is just a test mule for Cybercab. They don't want to be driving the Cybercab up in that area of the country, but they would like to be gathering some data. Both cameras, more than likely, they have also retrofitted this specific vehicle with hardware 5. And this is going to be regardless of whether or not this exact camera layout is specifically for the Cybercab, or the other possibility is that this is the camera layout for a not exactly Cybercab compact vehicle that Tesla may or may not be releasing in the near future. Either way, so one of the things we did hear at the Cybercab unveil event on 10/10 that they were planning to put the bumper cameras on the Cybercab. And that's also one of the places where we heard that, yes, it's going to be a version of hardware 5. I think that's why this car specifically has that bumper cam setup. I don't know that I would expect them to now also incorporate bumper cams in the Highland Model 3s just from this one thing. They might still do that, but I wouldn't say that this data point specifically gives us any information about whether or not they will or will not do that. I think those are really the two main options. And now that we've seen this one, I think we might also start to see some more of these in other areas of the country. And then the interesting thing to watch will be if there is any correlation between areas that these vehicles pop up and places where they might like to go ahead and roll out a Robotaxi ride hail as a service platform and an app, city by city by city. Because that's what Elon said, was that we're going to start in Austin in June, and that we will be in many cities across the country by the end of the year. Now, this is Elon we're talking about. Maybe there's some Elon timelining going on there. Maybe it won't be many cities. Maybe many cities will be 2 or 3. Who knows? We certainly know they're going to be in Austin, and they've been pursuing licensing in California as well. So I would say at least 3 cities between, Texas and California by the end of the year is highly, highly likely. But then, what does many look like beyond that? We'll see. But I think that we will have signs of what that could look like if we're paying attention and trying to follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, I think many cities means like your place, Houston, right? Those kind of in Texas, more cities in Texas. Obviously, they're doing this, right? I would guess why the East Coast, different weather conditions, right? Different kind of driving conditions. But it is a big deal because Waymo and others, they pick cities that are in the sunny areas, dry areas, no snow, no rain, or very little, as much as they can. So this is a good testing. Clearly, the Cybercab, to me, doesn't look like it's going to be anything else other than the Cybercab, but that's good news. Yeah.
Unless the compact future vehicle also looks pretty much exactly like the Cybercab on the outside, in which case it could be both.
Yeah, it could be both. We'll see. This is going to be fun. That's the big question we're all talking about now. So the other thing is there are rumors, and it's actually pretty strong ones, because we know who this is coming from, that as we expect, right? If you are going to launch a Robotaxi service in Texas, near Austin, you should be seeing more and more Tesla cars. And that is exactly what we're being reported here. So this is a person who sent you and me this information, and it said, over the past few weeks, Tesla has been operating a large number of refreshed Model Ys, at least 50, and possibly other Tesla vehicles in and around Austin. These vehicles all have manufacturer plates and have a single driver with no passengers testing on public roads. I've heard from people in the Austin area who have observed these vehicles all over the city. I think it goes without saying Tesla already has a fleet of new Model Ys and possibly other models driving. Collecting data, testing new versions of FSD, plus app ride share functions. This also might suggest that they're training drivers as safety observers for the initial Robotaxi rollout. And they're likely also testing supporting infrastructure for charging, cleaning, etc. So just to be clear, my understanding when you launch a new Robotaxi service in a city, that first you need to have a person physically sitting in the driver's seat.
That's certainly true in California. We know that for a fact. The question is what that is going to look like in Austin, and maybe we do know, and I just haven't haven't
at first, and then maybe
that.
2 weeks later they stop. They don't have a person sitting there right now. But the fact that all of these are on the road already, testing for Robotaxi, shows the effort is larger than most people realize, and is consistent with recent comments by Franz, Lars, and other employees, and Elon that Tesla will be ready to roll out the Robotaxi program in Austin, Texas in June. So yeah, this is exactly right. We're seeing at least 50 of these Model Ys already driving around, Tesla owned, and a single driver.
And that is exactly, I would expect it to be Model 3s and Model Ys because they do have the steering wheel and pedals, and you can put the safety driver in that. I think that's what they have been doing. We also know that they have been piloting this program in California for a while. When they released that little teaser video of the Tesla employee who was actually using the app. We know that was something that was happening in California. All of those vehicles are obviously, my guess is they're all Model Y. They could be Model 3, but more than likely they're all Model Ys. So to see them use the same essential playbook in Austin is also no surprise, but it is good to have some sense of like how many vehicles are we talking about. That they have 50 of these vehicles already is great. Hopefully we're expanding to a much larger number of vehicles even than that in the near future. We are roughly a quarter out. I mean, I would think that the target date to roll this out for it to be in June, they're going to maybe shoot for middle of June and then hope that they can get it out by June 30th. And so that really only gives us 2.5 months from now that they're targeting to be ready and be live. And we keep hearing lots and lots of chatter from lots and lots of different areas around Tesla, not just Elon, that are insinuating that they are ready to do this. And, I pay attention to those types of signals because we all know that Elon's timelines a lot of times are used as motivation and are not necessarily achievable. And that's on purpose. But when I hear other people kind of backing up timelines, then I start to be a little bit more confident that they are on track.
Yeah, just last week, right? We reported that at least 3 Tesla employees, including the Robotaxi program head, Eric, he came out and said that we are on track. We're launching Robotaxi in June. Whoever doubted us, you'll see.
Yep. I mean, so the one thing that could happen, and we'll pretty much know if it does, I think, is if there is some sort of major incident while they're doing this pilot and preparing for it, that could create a delay. But foregoing, like if we don't see something like that, I think that we are very, very likely to actually see this roll out in June.
It's April 1st. And so we're talking 2 months now. We're very close. And like you say, maybe mid, maybe end. So 3 months. So there's more signs. Wanted to get your opinion, Hans. What is this that we're looking at here? Tony, the accountant, posted this saying, I think this is coming again from Joe Techmeyer. He's the guy that does the drone videos over Giga Texas. Move along, nothing to see here. Car tents at chargers, car carrier with curtains, top level garage covered with curtains. I think we've been reporting on this for a while now. This garage in Giga Texas, they've had curtains on them for several months now. And everybody's like, why are they covering that? What are they storing in there? What kind of cars are there? Could be a bunch of Cybercabs. But if it was Cybercabs, why would they hide that? They don't need to hide that anymore. What do you think that they're doing here? So you can see this curtains everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously trying not to Osborne themselves with the vehicles that are about to roll out very soon.
Oh, so you think this is not the Cybercab? This is the new model, more affordable vehicles.
Yeah, whatever the more affordable vehicles are going to be. And, maybe those are Cybercab based. Maybe it's a modification of a Model 3 or a Model Y. Maybe it's something else entirely. There's different options on what that could be. But I think it's highly likely that that is what they are trying to conceal.
Okay. And then there's two kinds of superchargers here. You got the level 3 and level 4, right?
Yep.
Very cool. Yep. So we're keeping a close eye here. All right. Finally, you have Giga Berlin reporting, announcing that they have launched their 500,000th Model Y. Nice photo. Good milestone. New milestone, producing their 500,000th Model Y. So they opened up on March 22nd of 2022. They were obviously delayed because of COVID and others. Took just 1,000 days to produce 500,000 Model Ys. Not as fast as Giga Shanghai, but still notable. Giga Berlin only produces the new Model Y. That's Tesla's best selling. And then they sell that to other markets. The factory manager, Andre Thierig, said, we not only manufacture vehicles for the German market, but also for 37 other markets, both within and outside the EU. And by the way, just last week, we reported that he actually came out and he was interviewed and he said he does not see a demand problem. He focuses on building supplies and he doesn't see demand issues.
Yeah, and to bring this back for just a second to that JP Morgan article, because Giga Berlin only produces the Model Y, then when the Model Y goes down for a changeover, that is 100% of the production out of that factory. And so people can point to the fact that it's a dramatic reduction in deliveries. Because unlike, Shanghai is producing the Model 3 and the Model Y. And so when Model Y goes down, they're still producing vehicles, they're still selling vehicles. And so the percentage of the vehicles that they stop producing when they stop producing the Model Y is 100% at Berlin. And that makes for big swings in numbers. And if people would like to misinterpret that on purpose for, their own ends, it does make for catchy numbers.
Great point. Love it. You always give great insights. Thank you, Hans. Follow him on his YouTube channel, Hans C. Nelson, if you want to see deeper dives, great interviews. He's one of the best retail analysts out there. Thank you so much, Hans. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.